Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. So quite a few people have been asking me recently, what am I actually doing with my time in 2023? What have I been up to? So I thought it'd be cool to give an update on my personal and work goals for 2023. I like to share stuff like this from time to time, firstly because it might be interesting to you or to others to see how I'm approaching goal setting and the goal setting system that I use. Second, because I believe that sharing your goals publicly actually gives you a stronger sense of accountability than if you just kept them to yourself. And thirdly and lastly, because it just feels good to share wins and struggles along the way sometimes. So I'll talk about work and business first. I'll talk about finances. So where am I getting my income from now that I've exited my Amazon business and stopped coaching? And then we'll talk about the personal side, so relationships, health, and finally hobbies. First, a quick recap of the struggles of last year. And I can say right now that 2023, luckily for me, is shaping up to be a lot more productive than 2022. Last year was a pretty tough year for me personally. I really got lost in my problems. I didn't set great goals, and I also didn't achieve the goals that I set. So it was kind of a difficult time for me. It was also a bit of a transition period. So after selling my Amazon business, I didn't really know in which direction I wanted to go next. My gut was telling me that the right thing to do at the time was to take a break from entrepreneurship, to step back and really have the time and the space to reevaluate things. So I did that, but on the other hand, my gut wasn't telling me to go in any one particular direction. So the goals that I set were kind of arbitrary, and you could say that I was feeling a little bit directionless last year. As I say, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. Anyway, it's really only in the last couple of months that I've actually pulled myself out of that funk and started to be able to take the long-term view again and actually have motivation and purpose. So that definitely feels good. So let's move on to 2023 and how I set my goals for this year. I spent a lot of time planning. I trend towards over planning. I have a cascading system that goes from the lifetime, multi-year timeframe goals down to yearly, and then to my monthly plans, down to a weekly basis, and then finally, what am I doing on a day-to-day basis? So at the start of this year, I sat down and I was looking at all of those long-term goals that I've set for myself over the past, and I was trying to work out, of these goals, why is it that some of them I smash out of the park so easily, or at least I get them completed quite easily, but other goals, which are long-term and important goals for me, never seem to get done, and in fact, I would find them repeating over and over again, as in I didn't do them one year, and then I was putting them into the list for the next year and the year after. So I really spent some time to ask myself, what was I missing, or what was I doing wrong? Was it because these goals were not worth doing, and so I should just get rid of them and forget about them? Or were they worth doing, but I wasn't executing them correctly? So what I realized was that some of those goals, they weren't worth doing, and so, forget them, leave them to the side. But these other ones that I wasn't doing were really good goals for me. They were very important to me. And actually, it was just some kind of fear that was holding me back and stopping me from doing them. There's a Joseph Campbell quote I really like about this. It says, "The cave you most fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." He actually never said that. The full version is, "It's by going down into the abyss that we recover the treasures of life. Where you stumble, there lies your treasure. The very cave you're often afraid to enter turns out to be the source of what you're looking for." So coming into 2023, I set the intention to actually start conquering some of these deep fears that just really limit the possibilities of my life without me even realizing it. So looking behind those goals that I wasn't doing year after year, I realized that my darkest fears are all people related. They're all about fear of rejection, fear of judgment of others, sort of not feeling that I'm worthy in the eyes of others. And it's funny that getting rich over these last couple of years really didn't help any of those fears. If anything, it actually made some of them worse. So let's talk about that, because that's a good segue into the first one on work goals and business goals. Let's talk about YouTube. So my imposter syndrome is really strong right now. I built this audience, and if you're watching this, you're part of that audience. I built this audience around Amazon FBA and making money, and these changes that I had to go through, this transformation that I had to go through at a particular certain stage in my life and in a particular way. And now I realize that I have done that and I need to move on to the next stage of my life. There's actually nothing stopping me from sharing the next part of that journey, except for this little voice inside my head that tells me that no one cares, that it's irrelevant, that I'm irrelevant. And that voice has really held me back for a long time from getting back to making these videos. So I've been able to put that voice back in its little box, at least for a while. And that brings me to the very first goal, and probably the most important goal because it relates to a lot of other things, which I'll talk about in a sec. First goal is to publish one video a week on this channel for the next 12 months. That's it. I realize I'm very conscious of this, that now I don't have the luxury of just telling you basically a really easy way to make money, which was the big advantage that I had in this channel for the couple of years that I was doing it seriously. So now this is my challenge, is going to be to convince you that you should care about what I care about. And consistency has always been an issue for me. And that's due to motivation. If you've been subscribed to the channel for a while, you know what I'm talking about. The problem for me wasn't making time to make videos. It was literally just like the motivation to make the videos. But I think I finally worked out why. So the missing piece that I've realized in my entire entrepreneurial journey, not just making YouTube videos, but in my Amazon business as well, building the team for my Amazon business and my coaching program where I was teaching people how to sell on Amazon. My missing piece, the lesson that I had to learn, was that I never converted all of this online stuff that I was just doing, looking at a computer screen and it was just numbers or words or, comments, whatever else. I never converted that into real human connections, or at least very rarely. Because anytime I have met somebody in person, whether through YouTube or Amazon, we've always gotten along really well. I've gained real friends through doing stuff like this, and I don't take that lightly. That's one of the main reasons why I'm getting back to YouTube, honestly, is it sounds stupid, but it's effectively to make friends and to make more human connections. So the next goal is a long-term one. It's not something that I'll be doing or able to do in 2023, but it's to build a physical community somewhere. So there's a push and a pull here. I'm being pulled towards the idea and I'm being pushed away from something else as well. The pull is that let's say the difficult and introspective internal journey that I've been on through the last 12 to 18 months since selling my business, it's taught me and it's made it very clear to me what's really missing in my life. What's missing is living around good people who are interested in the same things that I am in a healthy and natural environment and doing fun stuff together. I just want to be able to breathe fresh air, have peace and quiet, space to work out in the sun, go on adventures, and I want to do that with cool people. With things like Starlink coming online around the world, I believe that we are right at the edge, right at the dawn of this age where it's completely practical for an online entrepreneur, for a freelancer, anyone working online, particularly if you have the flexibility with your schedule, to just go and live exactly where you want to, whether that's a city or whether that's a beautiful remote location, which is what I would prefer, and to be able to live in that place with the other people who want to live there, and then to grow a business and make a lot of money and to do that and just really live life on your own terms. I already sort of did this when I was sailing around the Caribbean in 2019 and 2021. I know how liberating that feels. I was able to grow both my businesses while I was doing that, but it's about to get much, much more easier and just a lot more practical. That's the pull. The push is that I am terrified about AI and the direction that the online world is heading. I think we are getting pushed in general to spend more and more time online. And if it wasn't already, the online universe is about to just get really fucking confusing. I'm watching AI closely, and I think in the short term, it's an incredible opportunity. But in the long term, as everything online just gets infinitely commoditized and is sort of covered in this AI data blob, at the end of the day, the only scarce resource that's going to be left is going to be the things that make us actually human, which are our imperfections. It's going to be our attention and our emotions and our feeling and our human-to-human connection. So while everything that's happening in the AI world is super interesting, I kind of want to zag in the other direction, and I want to double down on real human-to-human contact, because that's the thing that's finite, and it's only going to get more precious over time. So that's my vision. It's not completely formed, but I am going to be working towards it in the next couple of years. Third goal is not actually a goal. It's a nice to have. It probably won't happen this year, but I would like to start investing in other businesses. I already have a small, very, very small portfolio of basically private equity that I have. I'd like to do that some more and start investing for a minority equity stake in, I would guess, probably high 6 to low 7-figure businesses, and basically just provide mentoring and business coaching and really specialized advice to help that founder to take their business to the next level. And I'm in the privileged position where I have a very rare skill set, which is to build an e-commerce business from scratch into a saleable asset and then lead that sale process into a successful and lucrative exit. Also, I just love the mechanics of growing a business. It's something that I know really well. I think I have the brain type for it, and I'm good at it. Right now, I'm just mentoring in an unofficial capacity. I'm going to continue doing that, but it would be cool to actually have some ways to get some more skin in the game again, let's say. So that's business and work. Let's move on to finances now. So my first finance goal is to live off passive income for a year and spend 100% of that income to achieve my other goals. So how much is that income right now? It's more or less, it's sort of varying quite a bit, but let's say it's about 150K per year in fully passive income. So that's just from bond ownership. That's from some private shares shares in private companies that I own. It's some rental income. I also get some residual income through this channel as affiliate income, but that's more or less it. That's obviously a lot less than I used to be earning when I had one or two businesses cranking. But one thing I wanted to share was just how good it feels to have real passive income. It feels good. This is the first time in my life where I've actually been relying on that type of income. And there's just this nice feeling of more or less being able to sleep well at night because you don't have to do anything. Being an employee, you have to work, one for one for that money, and that just sucks, and you can lose your job, so it's risky as well. Having a business, in hindsight again is amazing because you can earn so much money and then you can make an asset to sell as well. But the riskiness and the stress just really doesn't compare to actually living off passive income. The idea is to take all of the money that I have left over after my living expenses, which I am trying to keep modest, but to take that leftover pile of money and invest it not into financial assets, but into non-financial things that will effectively pay me a dividend in life. And I'm doing that because I'm really trying to push myself to move from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance. Specifically, I'm trying to take my focus away from just focusing on growing my financial wealth and now growing the richness of my actual life. Basically, since I went from being a teenager to an adult, and I've always been focused on making money from a scarcity mindset. Basically, you make the money, and then the purpose of making money is to then have the money make you more money, and then that money makes you more money. And it's just this circular thing that in the end, I've found to be quite damaging to, again, my overall enjoyment and satisfaction with life. So I'm trying to move away from it and get to abundance. And how do I do that? It's a year of spending all my money and just seeing how much, again, non-financial dividends I can get out of it. That's my financial goal. Moving on to relationships. And my first and only goal, and I've already achieved it, was to celebrate my birthday for the first time ever. Specifically to celebrate my 34th birthday with all my closest friends around me, sharing a peak experience together, and to live out my perfect day. That's a bit of a mouthful, but this one really means a lot to me. What I was trying to solve when I created this goal was a few things. First was my limiting beliefs around not being able to spend time with my closest friends. You're hearing this a bit in this video, and it's just been a theme for me for a while, is that lack of human connection is one of the biggest things that I struggle with in my life and have always struggled with in my life. Again, getting rich doesn't change that. So I've had this limiting belief since I left Australia and since that original sort of, close group of friends that you have when you go through high school and then maybe you go to university. Since that group of friends was no more, I've never really been able to recreate that group in somewhere else. And then I've, become more nomadic. I've moved around the world. So along the way, I learned this kind of self-imposed helplessness, this belief that I would never be able to get my friends all together in one spot at the same time, that my friends would never even actually get to meet each other. So I wanted to break apart that belief. The second problem was that I have this image in my head of what my perfect day means to me, as in, what sort of day is it where you just wake up in the morning and you go about your day, and then by the time you get to the end of the day and you're falling asleep again, you are literally just happy and satisfied. And if you did that every day, you would be a complete person. I know what that day looks like to me. I've had it written down for ever since before I started my Amazon business, but I'd never lived it. And I was not taking any actions to actually make it a reality. And the last one was that I've never actually celebrated my own birthday. I think deep down, again, goes back to these sort of self-esteem issues, these fears of rejection, that in some way I don't feel like my life is worth celebrating. Anyway, this goal meant a lot to me, and I did it. I had a dozen of my friends come and join me for a week at a villa in Costa Rica from all around the world, basically every continent except I guess Africa and Antarctica. And then a handful of my friends, they stuck around and they joined me for an epic road trip from Panama to Costa Rica and then back again. And along the process of making this happen, I had to overcome the fear of rejection from my friends. I know it sounds stupid, but this fear that, I'll pick the wrong place and it'll suck, or that people won't come, they won't want to take time off from their lives to travel around the world and come celebrate my birthday. Or they'll come and they won't enjoy themselves, or they won't like, my other friends. I pushed through all that. And in the end, I was able to live out my perfect day. I was able to see that it's possible and that I have the power to make it happen. If there's a specific moment when I realized all of this, it was probably horse riding along this remote beach, galloping along with like sand flying everywhere and these huge waves breaking in the background. Then I look back and I see all my friends spread out along this beach on horseback, just laughing and enjoying themselves. It was absolutely unforgettable. And so that's how I realized that I can do this. And it's also getting clearer and clearer what my ideal life looks like. So it's basically nature, good friends, adventure. It's not that complicated. So the next section, health. I'll just run through these quickly. Number one is to continue trying different therapies. I talked in one of my more recent videos about my issues with mental health and that sort of internal journey that I've been going through. I just want to keep trying different therapies. The next one on the list that I have been meaning to do is hypnotherapy. A lot of this stuff, I would have thought it was quackery a few years ago, but to be honest, the more I learn about health, the more I realize how much of an ongoing process the science around all this stuff is. And I would just say, don't take anything for granted, or don't be so quick to assume that something doesn't work. Anyway, hypnotherapy is the next one. And there are just a bunch of different therapies that I want to try. I've also been doing ayahuasca at my friend Sam's retreat center and a couple others. Anyway, the goal was to continue trying different ones. My next health goal is to work on mobility instead of just focusing on strength. I don't think I mentioned this before, but I injured my back, my lower back. It was actually a herniated disc that I got weightlifting. Probably happened 3 years ago, but last year again, it was my bad year, was 2022. It flared up really badly and was really causing a lot of chronic and quite severe pain for a period of months. I was almost bedridden. That made me learn how effective physiotherapy and rehab and just doing the work to strengthen your body up in ways in which I'd never done before. So for example, instead of trying to lift really heavy in the gym and lift hundreds of kilograms, just having a really strong core and lower back and doing all of the little exercises that will make that happen, that made the pain completely go away after a while, after doing it day in, day out without missing a single day for 3 to 6 months. But now I have an injured shoulder for the same sort of thing, as in I've been focusing on exercises that like you show off or look cool instead of focusing on building a strong foundation. So now again, I feel empowered in terms of knowing that I have the control. You don't need surgery for a lot of these injuries. You can just rehab yourself through them by doing the right exercises. So the goal is to get back a lot of the strength in my right shoulder, because it is really keeping me from doing a lot of the physical activities that I love to do. Apart from the shoulder rehab, which is something that I'm going to be doing multiple times per day, every day until it gets better. Literally after I film this, I'm going to go over there and do some exercises. But I'm not going to be focusing too much on these other health-related goals. And the reason why is because last year in 2022, I realized that there is a circular relationship between a balanced life and good health. You can improve your health without doing anything health-related. If you are in an environment which is natural and healthy to you, you are with friends and loved ones, you're not stressed, you're not overworked, you're in an environment that suits you, you will become healthier. On the flip side, if you spend all of your time stressing out about health and you make just these health-related goals your entire and singular focus, you'll probably just become stressed out and actually become unhealthier. That's exactly what happened to me last year when I just focused on health, was everything got worse. So I'm not gonna make that same mistake this year. So the last section is hobbies. And here I just wrote some stuff down. I'm really conscious that person who chases 2 rabbits catches none. I just have like 1 or 2 main goals and everything else is a nice to have. So hobbies wise, I've gotten into plants in the last couple of years. You can see them there in the background, the lights off. Growing houseplants has really given me a lot of deep enjoyment that I never expected. I got into the hobby because I have always wanted to have like greenery around, but I've been nomadic for so long and you can't be nomadic with plants. And so then I got my cleaner to take care of these plants that I bought, and most of them died, which is what happens when you don't take the responsibility to take care of them. And then in doing so, I realized, hey, I don't want these plants to die, so I've got to take care of them. So I started taking care of them. And then I just fell into this huge rabbit hole, which gave me this super deep appreciation for just the beauty of life and the world that we live in, and how biology works, how evolution works. It's been incredibly satisfying, and I really didn't expect it. But plants are super cool. I found it satisfying in a way that's similar to how growing a business is satisfying. It involves delayed gratification, but you see the results. Although there's no, maybe it's similar to business, but there's no like final payday. It just kind of keeps going. And you have obstacles and setbacks and stuff dies on you, but then you get another plant, I guess. So maybe it's easier than growing a business. There's no goal here. It's just to basically let them grow for another year and see how big they can get. Another hobby that I've taken up more recently is boxing. I really have only been doing it for a month or 2, and I've had to pause recently because of this shoulder. So I'm going to rehab this and then get back into it. But just doing martial arts or having some sort of focused physical outlet for like emotions, I guess, is a really nice feeling. So I really like boxing, and I hope that I can get back to it soon. Kitesurfing is another one. It's one of these things that I did have on the list for years and years and years, and I always told myself it looked cool and I wanted to try it without ever actually trying it. So at the start of this year, I did a kitesurfing course. I would say it's been a little bit like snowboarding for me. I tried snowboarding, and there's like a steep learning curve with snowboarding where it just hurts and it kind of sucks for at least a few days. And that's where I stopped doing snowboarding. And as well with kitesurfing, I've just done the one course, and I'd say it still sucks and is painful. So I'm gonna have to go back and give that another go at some point. But I did it. I finally tried it. It's been on the list for ages, so I'm happy with that. Portuguese. I haven't done this one yet. I want to do this. I want to learn a 3rd language. My Spanish is pretty good, so I speak English as my native language, born in Australia, or I guess you could argue whether we really speak English or not. And I learned Spanish when I moved to Colombia 6 years ago, but recently I realized that comfort zone that forms around you, which you then expand when you learn a new language, that comfort zone then also simply forms around you again once you're comfortable with the 2nd language. And so that's how I feel about where I'm at with my Spanish right now. The beautiful thing about learning a language is that only then can you actually understand how a different culture or a different country of people, how they think. So I've decided I would love to learn another language, and Portuguese just sounds easy because it's similar to Spanish. So it's hopefully it won't be too big of a jump to pick up, and also practical because I would really love to go and spend a lot of time in Brazil. And yeah, so I'm excited to do that sometime later this year. I think I'll probably go spend a month or two in Brazil and pick that up. That's it, guys. Let me know what you think, if we have any goals in common, or if there are things that you're also thinking about or following this year or trying to do this year. I'd love for you to tell me, so leave me a comment down below. Hold me accountable. Again, if you see I'm not keeping up with my end of the bargain, then I give you permission to hunt me down and tell me to get my shit together. And that's it. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you tuning in and watching these videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.